Today we're going to be looking at some of my favourite movie music, on vinyl no less. And here's the very first one. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's kind of funny because I wasn't 100% sure, but just thinking about it just before we started filming, I always thought this was called Hero Turtles. I know the TV show is called Hero Turtles because for some reason you couldn't say the word ninja in the UK during the 80s. It's got a nice little sort of connection there. It says Hero Turtles there, sort of just making sure that people knew it was the same thing for the one person in the country that wouldn't have known that. Let's have a quick look at the actual, some of the tracks on there. Spunkadelic 9.95 was always one of my favourite tracks, and this St. Paul, Every Heart Needs a Home. I always remember liking that, like, you know, because obviously people know the singles like the Turtle Power and things like that. There's the back there, some great images there, sort of. There's one of Raphael standing by a lamppost, and it always looks cool. He's the leader of the Turtles, let's not forget, as it said in the song. I know that's supposed to be a mistake. But talking about sort of a nice little connection when it's saying Hero Turtles and Ninja Turtles, this next record I'm going to bring out, it's got a really interesting little backstory to it, or in my mind anyway. But with that Turtles record, I distinctly remember getting it, and at the time I must have gone back home and the main record player was in the living room, and I remember I couldn't play it, so I was thinking, how can I play this record? And the people used to live across the road from me. I remember going across there and saying, can I play this record? And they were like, yeah. And this was like on a Saturday night, tea time. And I sat there with headphones listening to the Turtles soundtrack in their house. And a similar thing happened with this Ghostbusters II soundtrack. I brought this, and I remember sometimes, like, be on like a Saturday or a Friday when, you know, I had access to some kind of money. You know, if I got like a bit of pocket money or something like that, or if I kept the change for going to the shops or something. And I remember I was down my sister's house, and I must have brought this from a record shop in town, but I couldn't play it until I got back home. And so I said to my sister, oh, can I play this record? You know, because it was killing me pig kind of thing. It's not even a phrase, it is now. And I said to my sister, oh, can I play this record? She was like, well, you can play it, but my record player isn't working very well. So I risked the integrity of this record just to play it at my sister's house. But again, I mean, obviously I know a lot of these records off by heart, but sometimes it's just good. Look at the track listing. I mean, We're Back, Bobby Brown, On Our Own, again by Bobby Brown, the Ghostbusters by Run DMC, but the standouts for me was always Flip City by Glenn Frey, or Glenn Fry. I still don't know his name, even though he's passed away now, which is a terrible way of remembering somebody. And Spirit by Dougie Fresh was always the main one. There's the back there. Again, it was like a great place to see like images from films before, like, you know, you had access to the internet. You might see the odd image in a magazine or a sticker on or something, but you're great for, you know, using, and, you know, if you need to scan them for anything and things like that. This band reunited again last year, maybe for the last time. I think it's the 5th or 6th decade they've been knocking around now. But this is Dokken, and this is from Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. One image that always sticks in my mind about this was when I said the house where I played the Turtles soundtrack when I couldn't play it in my own house. They recorded Headbangers Ball for me, and at the very end of the Headbangers Ball, they had 4 songs that were requested from one person, and the person was from Stoke-on-Trent. It was somebody named Donna Turner.
Tonight is the choice of Donna Turner, I don't know, from Stoke-on-Trent in the UK. Her selection are all from film soundtracks, and that includes Warrant, Kiss, and Dokken. Sorry, mate.
Don't know this person, but she picked 4 amazing songs, and one of them was Dream Warriors. Only got 3 songs on there, like, say, a 12-inch single. Great image of Dokken standing with Freddie. Read the paperback from St. Martin's Press. There's the backside. There's the backside of Dokken there. Something that everybody always wants to see there. And talking about backsides that everybody wants to see is Bette Midler for the boys. And I might be unique in lots of cool ways, but I think I might be one of the few people on planet Earth that owns this record, will admit to owning this record. And there's a song on here, I think this song should have been way better in terms of success, but it's called Every Road Leads Back to You, and it should have, you know, been up there with like From a Distance and Wind Beneath My Wings and the Beatty song and stuff like that. But obviously the record company didn't have much faith in it. They put it as the very last track on the album, and the general public thought the same and thought, nah, just play that Beatty song over and over again. Even the Christmas version of From a Distance was way more successful than that. Process that. I know it's fashionable nowadays for soundtracks to be intermittently interrupted by samples from the film, but this was my very first exposure to that. This was the soundtrack to Good Morning Vietnam, of course, the Robin Williams film. I don't know why I didn't go see this film at the cinema. I'll have to check the dates on this. Maybe it was just I wasn't old enough. Maybe it was 15. I think it can't have been an 18 surely. I guess it was kind of violent. This is always one kind of music, this like late 60s, early 70s kind of music. Kind of embarrassed to say that sort of it has to be really good before it does anything for me, but you know, there's some great tracks on here. Nowhere to Run To by Martha Eden and the Vandellas, Sugar and Spice by the Searchers, Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World, the Bond song. And more than anything, I always used to actually skip all the songs and just put the Robin Williams parts on, because, you know, he's a really good comedian. Or he was. It's depressing, isn't it? This is, you know, a lot of people talk about like John Williams, and for obvious reasons, he's done like, you know, obviously Star Wars and Jaws and all these amazing films. But this is like one of the highlights of my collection. It's Earthquake, the 1974 movie. And it's a score. I always remember famously Richie Sambora saying about the score to Blaze of Glory that, oh, it's a movie soundtrack, you can't listen to it all the way through. And I don't know if I've ever listened to this all the way through in one sitting. I mean, main title Earthquake is one that Jeff Love did a cover of. I'm more familiar with the cover of a John Williams track than the actual John Williams track. Love Scene, 2 minutes 26 seconds. What, did they do it 5,000 times? And always a sign of a good film there. Put the stars in little rectangular boxes. How often will you see Richard Roundtree and Lorne Greene together? Just that one instance, I would have thought. This is a pretty rare item. I don't remember this coming out. I say rare, but it's rare to me. I don't remember this coming out at the time. It's The Pretenders, If There Was a Man. The Pretenders song that I am familiar with from the film was Where's Everybody Gone? It's gets used by John Barry quite a lot throughout the film. It's almost like a piece of incidental music. And I think they were going to have the Pretenders doing the main song, but they ended up picking A-ha, and I do prefer the A-ha song. But yeah, Pretenders, pretty cool. Familiar that song, where the most famous part for that song is when a guy disguises himself as a milkman and is listening to Where's Everybody Gone and strangles somebody. How about that for a claim to fame? Oh, talking about claim to fame though. Actually, I'm getting confused. It's a few records along, but this is Superman 3, and I got this from a nice little shop in Manchester. But remember that quote, folks. This is one of those shops as well. One of those albums that I can remember, like when you go in these little cool record shops in some of the big cities like Liverpool and Manchester, and there's certain things, and Superman 3 is one of them. If I see anything Superman 3, I have to get it. I'm like, oh my god, Superman 3, Superman 3. And I just, as soon as I saw it, it's like, you know, no matter how much money I got on me at the time, if it was like £3 or 300, I had to buy this song. And I was just looking at the track listing at the back, because it's got one side of score by Ken Thorne and one side of songs produced by Giorgio Moroder. And there's one cool song that when Richard Pryor pulls up in the car, when Robert Vaughn says, whoever's been embezzling all this money, we'll spot him straight away, not unless he's a total moron. And you see Richard Pryor pull up in his Ferrari and he's playing a song. And for the life of me, I can't figure out which song it is. I think it's No See No Cry by Chaka Khan. But I will have to do a further research on that. I tried to Shazam it, but it didn't work for some reason. And there's all the pictures of all the people in little small boxes there, just like on the Earthquake soundtrack. Love to try some of Lorna Lang's Pate. I'm sure most people who collect vinyl have probably got this one. It's one of John Williams' classier scores. It's E.T. One of the few vinyl records I've got that makes me cry. So even though I've got this on vinyl and on CD, I can't play them. obviously things like Flying, everyone knows that song. It's the famous E.T. the E.T. music. E.T.'s Halloween. I want that for a cool name for a song, and it's got there Steven Spielberg's name signed on the bottom. So if you like your favourite Steven directors like Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, those two, Steven Soderbergh, the list goes on. I don't know what films he's directed. I know he's very classy. Oh, this is a really funny coincidence. When I was getting these records together for this video, and just going through them the last few days and stuff, but I've made the final pile like like the last couple of days. And this morning when I was going through them again, we had a comment on one of the videos. It was by Video Master. Hi, by the way, one of our cool posters that we have on the lock. And he said he was trying to think of this film magazine that had a cool Excalibur, the John Boorman movie. It had a cool Excalibur poster. And I couldn't think what it was. And I said like, oh, I can't think, I'll have to sort of get back to you kind of thing. And then, luckily he remembered. And I said, oh, thanks for, letting me know. I'll be one of them things 10 years from now. I'll be like, what's that magazine? But complete fluke, I just noticed I'd actually got a copy of it. It was Starburst magazine. Saved this magazine for quite a few reasons. Obviously it's got a sexy Battlestar Galactica lady, but it's also got a picture of Black Hole there, and completely giving away what the next album is. It is John Barry's score for Disney's The Black Hole. This is always one of those great scores. I mean, it's got that cool theme music, and it's cool for loads of reasons. And a couple that really stand out to me is, I'd both had these pointed out by, I think it was the Two True Freaks Black Hole podcast. But actually the first one, the second point I do know, but the first point was from them, is it almost sounds like you're riding on a wave, like dun, 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 and it's got that kind of ebb and flow quality, up and down quality to it. It also says, I'm sure it says it on the back. Oh yeah, it says there, down the corner here, a digital recording. And I know I say it on every other one of these videos, nearly every one of my commentaries, but I'm always like, oh, we had computers when I was a lad, which is kind of the reverse of we didn't have that when I was a lad. But I'm always kind of a little bit annoyed when people say, oh, we didn't have computers till like 2003. But can you believe this was probably recorded in 1978, 1979, somewhere in that ballpark. And this was recorded digitally. And I'd love to get a little bit more insight into that. Was just the equipment digital, was recorded on the hard drive the size of a house, but we'll never know, I guess. Be interested if anybody knows any more than me, which is probably a lot of people. But actually, when I was saying about that Superman 3 score, when I was saying about I got it from a cool little shop in Manchester, but this has actually got a bit of a backstory to it. It wasn't the same shop as I got that other record from, but me and a couple of my mates were in this really cool shop in Manchester. And I don't know if it's just like a Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire phrase, but I've got a really bad habit of saying, oh, I've got a nice little video collection, or I've got a nice little CD collection or something like that. And I just mean it as like a term of endearment, not the Michael Caine film. But I was in this shop in Manchester, and when I saw the soundtrack to Stallone Cobra, it was again one of those things where anytime I see anything with Cobra, like the computer game, I've got a couple of times on VHS and things like that. It's just one of those films that I always just find really cool and really amazing. And just some great songs on here, like Voice of American Sons, the theme from Cobra, Angel of the City by Robert Tepper. And remember, Love Themes. This is the Love Theme from Cobra by Bill Medley. But I remember being in this little shop in Manchester, and as we got to the counter with this Cobra record, I said, "Oh, nice little shop you've got here." And the guy behind the counter was like, "What do you mean by that?" And I was like, "Oh, I like the shop and it's cool and it's got loads of great stuff in it." But the two mates were with the turned around like I know they're ready, they got me back like kind of thing. But it was like when compliments go wrong. And this, like I say, there's probably about 10 films that have this reaction with me. And again, a bit like with a few of the records in this, as soon as I saw the soundtrack to Soul Man, it was like, I'm having a piece of that action. I got this from the Oxfam in Hereford, and this was about, I think, 4 years ago, something like that. And it was before that the real hardcore vinyl fad kicked in again. And now that all the charity shops everywhere sell vinyl, and all the record shops and supermarkets sell vinyl again. But this was like a little bit rarer then, plus it was Soul Man, so I had to get it. But it's got, of course, Soul Man by Sam Moore and Lou Reed. But one song that kind of made me laugh, I don't know why, is Black Girls by Ray Dawn Chong. It just kind of sounds offensive, doesn't it, for some reason? There's the back if you want to have a quick look at the track listing there. What's funny, this shows my level of taste. I think like things like The Vikings is a classy movie. I also think this is a classy soundtrack. It's Henry Mancini, Trail of the Pink Panther. Got this from a charity shop, and it's mostly just for the Pink Panther theme. And what's kind of funny about stuff like this though, because I don't even know if I've played this all the way through. The Inspector Clouseau theme. Well, who knew? I'm still a little bit gutted even to this day with every version of the Pink Panther. Excuse me, even the newer ones with Steve Martin. I would like to buy a hamburger, which is a great scene no matter what anybody says. I'm always still a little bit gutted that they show the Pink Panther at the start, then he won't be in it for the rest of the film. It's just he's just following this French man round. Do you find Beyonce attractive? And let's finish on a high. This is Axel, the 12-inch single by Harold Faltermeyer. And like, just having Axel is good enough, but it's got an amazing B-side on here, Shootout. It actually says you the running time here, 2 minutes 45 seconds. But if you don't know which track that is, that's when Axel, Rosewood and Taggart are going round to Victor Maitland's house, a grey-haired gentleman, a Capricorn. But yeah, it's great to hear it without any of the effects and dialogue on there. You can just rock out to Axel, and there you go. It's the best of my film soundtracks and scores, and keep it locked.